Lights on, phone on airplane mode, already done, and we are live. Welcome to another video on the channel, guys, my tigers. It's Alex from Tiger ADA. I'm very happy to have you here. In this channel we're speaking about self-actualization, just pretty deep stuff, not only just hustling in the gym and working and having money, but the deep processes in our body, in our mind, in our soul and unconsciousness, which are essentially the most important things when it comes to self-development. So in this video, guys, we're speaking about guilt, and this is something that has a surface level, you know how most of the people understand it, but it has a much deeper level that goes very deep, and you see, and if I explain the best way, you get absolutely mind blown. So the surface level of guilt, I mean, that's how I'm going to explain it firstly, and then I'm going to go deeper. So I have two examples to explain what guilt is. You probably already know, but I'll tell you one story from the UK, like 3 years ago. Basically, if you didn't know, I studied sports psychology in the UK in Coventry University. But after the second year of my studies, I started not to enjoy it. I started to think that it's bullshit, and pretty much I decided to quit. I took this decision and I kept it a secret from my family, especially from my mom, which is my closest family member. She knows everything about my life. And of course, she helped me in the life in England, so she had to know this. I kept it a secret. I continued living my life having taken this decision, but not telling anybody. Why? Because I felt guilty. And every single day that passed on, I felt guiltier and guiltier and guiltier until it was like a few days before I was flying back to Bulgaria. So I just pretty much had to tell her. But this guilt was reasonable because I didn't tell the truth, first of all. And because I took a decision without even telling my mother or my family, without even contemplating it so much with them, without even discussing it. And in this case, guilt is something that is kind of normal because I'm lying, because I'm not being honest, because I'm doing something maybe a little bit impulsive, or because I'm doing something egoistic or something for myself. On the other hand, I have a story that was much sooner. It was like 1 week ago. I was at my friend's house with one of my other friends, Tony, and we were walking back. It was like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning. So we were walking back because his house, my friend's house, his name is Alex also, it's like 10 to 15 minutes by walk from my apartment. So me and my friend Tony, we decided just to walk on the street at 3 a.m. And the logical thing happened. We were just walking and there was one police car. It stopped next to us and told us, hello guys, we would need your ID documents. We would want to check if you have any drugs or something, what's in your pockets. And guys, in this case, I felt complete peace. I didn't feel anything because I was not guilty of anything. I wasn't taking drugs. I didn't have anything wrong in my pockets. Everything was good, even though the situation was kind of dangerous. When you, inside of yourself, know that you are not guilty, that you're innocent, that's when you don't care. That's when you really don't see a point of you worrying about something that you haven't done. That's why many people in court, when they are guilty, they don't really care. Because you don't feel the internal guilt, which is the most important thing. However, this is on the surface, guys. But keep in mind that you can feel guilt even if it's not explainable. Even it doesn't make sense to reality. You can still feel guilt. You don't have to have done something in order for you to feel guilty. And this is what I want to speak about in this video. The unconscious processes. Because many of us, and I'll tell you some personal examples, but many of us have this guilt inside of us without it being reasonable, without any real explanation, without it being relevant to reality. And this is the scary part, because this runs us. These subconscious processes run us, and we don't even understand. We cannot even comprehend how something can be unconscious in the first place, because we are always in our heads only caring about our thoughts and our consciousness. But the subconscious, the unconsciousness, this is what is on the behind, and this is what ultimately runs us. If we have some feeling, for example, pops out of nowhere, it's from our unconscious, it's not from our conscious, because the conscious is only thoughts, but the feelings, not the emotions, the feelings, because emotions is something in the present moment. For example, like being happy, being angry, but feelings is something internal. We have this good feeling, we have this, it can be anger also, but in a way that is not so active, it's more passive. It can be guilt the same way. It's a very complicated topic, guys, to speak about, and I really have a little bit of pressure on myself to explain the best way, because I feel like it's so important. But sometimes we can feel something without it being relevant to reality. You've seen that, for example, in your friend, somebody gets angry about something that is so small, and you wonder, how can somebody be so little-minded? How can somebody get angry about something that is not so important? Sorry for this, guys. But it's anger on the surface that you see is the emotion, but the feeling inside is the anger that your friend has. Because it's accumulated feelings inside, and they, like a volcano, explode at some point. That's why, for example, when people are stuck in the traffic jam, they go crazy. But it's not the traffic jam itself, because it's a very, very small thing, if you look at it realistically. But it's the internal feeling of anger that is accumulated, and at some point it explodes. That's why people rage. It's not because of the situation. And it's very easy to judge people for these reasons. It's like, oh, it's such a small situation, this is nothing. But people accumulate their energy inside of them, in their feelings, and at some point everything goes to crash. This is what we need to understand, because I'm sure in your lives also you had these situations, you rage, then after 5 or 10 minutes everything goes away, and then you wonder, why did I rage so hard? There was no point in me raging so hard in this situation, but I did. Yes, because the situation in the real life triggered something inside of you that you haven't let go. You have some trigger point here inside of yourself that you need to let go. Otherwise, you will get triggered all the time. That's why people live in this stress state. Also me, of course. We live in this stress state, always tension, always something feeling inside not right with us. And this is exactly guilt. I got a little bit off topic, but this is what guilt is. Guilt, ultimately, is the guilt of you being yourself. You feel guilty about you being yourself. And this can translate into many situations. You feel guilty about saying your truth. You feel guilty about telling what you think. You feel guilty about liking what you like. You feel guilty about wanting what you want. Guilt is one of the lowest vibration energies, lowest energy feelings. Guilt is something that you don't have to consciously feel it, but you rather live your whole life run by guilt. Because what is guilt? The lack of innocence. For example, somebody goes to the court, they are judged for some crime that they did or they didn't do. Guilty or innocent. These are the two extremes. So we lack this innocence inside of us. We feel like if we express ourselves fully, we're going to be judged, we're going to be criticized, we're going to be abandoned, we're not going to be loved. This is what is guilt. You feel guilty of being yourself. For example, your friends invite you to a party and you really don't feel like doing. You, for example, feel like playing League of Legends. Playing League of Legends. But because you feel guilty of expressing what you really want, which is the truth, that's what you want in this moment, to play League of Legends, like a nerd. And you tell to your friends, no, guys, I'm coming with you, even though that's not what you want. But it's not the thing you do, it's the place it's coming from. You're taking this action from the place of guilt, because you're guilty of expressing who you really are. But the truth is, the ultimate truth is very hard to achieve this. We can all understand it at least, that we are all innocent. And it's absolutely completely okay for each and every one of us to be themselves. But this is very hard, and this is where the social conditionings take place. This is the social conditioning is what caused the guilt inside of us. And I'll give you a few examples. Because when we start our lives, we're like a blank space, and basically society, our parents, our teachers, our friends, they are writing on this paper, and they make the programming. They make us who we are. Our experiences in the real world make us who we are. And unfortunately, our experience cannot be always good. And also, when we are little kids, maybe until the age of 7 years old, that's when we are most susceptible, more impressionable. I'm sorry for my English, but that's the moments when we trust everything from the world to be the truth. For example, when somebody tells us something, we believe it to be the truth. This is why when our teacher, for example, maths teacher, when we don't do good, they tell us, you are stupid, Alex. And this, because you have the judgment of a 7-year-old, it's very hard for you to understand that this is just an opinion of some lady. You take it as the truth. And what do? You take it as a core belief, and you start kind of to live your life thinking that you're stupid. And for example, the next class comes, and you know the answer, but instead of raising your you act from this core belief that you think that you're stupid. So you don't raise your hand, and you don't say what you think is the right answer. Or for example, your friend starts speaking about something, and you want to share your opinion, but you think that you're stupid. You don't think, you feel that you're stupid for some reason. You cannot explain it to yourself. That's why you don't share your opinion with your friends, because you think your opinion doesn't matter because you're stupid. Now, this may sound crazy to you, and I want to explain it the best way to you guys, but it may sound crazy from your point of view right now, whether you're 15, 16, 19, 20, 25, 30 years old. But when you're a little kid, you take everything from this world to be the truth. That's why everything our parents tell you, we believe it to be the complete truth. That's why we become kind of copies of our parents. We have the same belief as our parents. It's like 40 degrees in this room, no problem. It stimulates my brain better. Also, another example. All the boys watching will relate. So, when we were little kids, again, in, Grundschule, like beginning school, primary school, yes, that's when we start developing as boys. That's something pretty normal. Our main hormones starts to develop in our bodies. That's when we start to like girls, and everybody, I'm not absolutely, but almost certain that all of us have this story when we start to like one girl, and what do the others in the class do when they find out? They start mocking us. They start making fun of us for liking a girl. Now, this is absolutely ridiculous being said now, but what if it's said then? How do we perceive it with our 7 or 9 or 10-year-old perception of the world? We take it as the truth. And of course, most of the times, we develop this core belief in ourselves that it's not okay to like girls. That every time we're going to like girls, we're going to being made fun of, and most importantly, we're going to get abandoned, because as little kids, we really care about the social circles. We really want to be approved, and we don't want to be abandoned. We want to be a part of the society. That's why we develop this core belief that it's not okay to like girls, otherwise you're going to be pushed away. And every time, even though it's absolutely normal to like girls, every time you like a girl, you're going to hide it, or you're going to run away from it, or you're going to either physically run away from the girls, not expressing it, or inside of yourself, when it comes to feelings or mentally, you're going to run away from it. Every time you have a thought like this, you're going to say, no, this is not right, this is not correct. This is how guilt is developed. Guilt of liking girls. You feel guilty of liking girls. And then what happens? This story is pretty personal to me as well. I can 100% relate. Because I think I had one girl that I liked 3rd or 4th grade, and that's what happened. Everybody mocked me about it. Oh, how can you be boyfriend, girlfriend with this girl? And yes, and that's when I go back in time. Of course, it's not only this situation, but when I go back in time, now I understand why my life turned out to be this way, because I was always this shy guy around girls. I was sweating, I was getting red, I was afraid to express my feelings or express that I like them, basically. And this is what happens to many guys. And if you see, many guys are so scared of walking to a girl and just telling her, I like you, or you're beautiful, or I don't know, your dress is nice, or let's go on a date, or give me your Instagram. That's what I told you before. It's so irrelevant to reality, because the feeling inside you, and you can see it even now. Many guys are so scared, and even me, 80% of the time, I'm very, very scared about this. But this is not relevant to reality, guys. Because if somebody looks from the outside, it's just a girl, bro. It's not a monster. But you still get this intense feeling. You freeze. You cannot say a single word. Word. You cannot say a single word. So scary inside. And why? These are the internal process I want to speak about this in the channel. Because it's not, you cannot just override this with so much action. Because you act from a place of guilt. You act from a place where you feel that you're guilty about liking a girl, which is something not so scary, which is something that in truth, if you try approaching girls or try speaking to girls, they're not gonna eat you guys. Nothing bad is going to happen. But that's what we believe, because we feel guilty about who we are. If you are a man, you're going to like girls, and that's who you are, and just embrace it and don't be guilty about it. So there is no wonder that when I got a little bit older, and when the time came for me to have sex with different girls, I got kind of a form of erectile dysfunction, which I speak openly about in this channel. Because I was scared of being a man. What is being a man? Being strong, rock hard, and just doing what you want, which is ultimately everybody wants to have sex. Every man wants to have sex with women. And that's completely normal. But because of this internal guilt that I have about myself, I believed that I'm not worthy enough to have sex with this girl. I believe that it's not normal for a man. This is all internal. It's not on my consciousness. It's all internal. I believe that it's not okay to be sexual with girls. It's not okay to be hard next to girls. This is internal, guys. I'm telling you again, because mentally I tried, get hard. But on the inside, that's the internal feeling. Being guilty of being a man. Being guilty of being who you are. Being guilty of being Alex. You can be David, Justin, whatever. Being guilty of being Patrick. It's the same thing. I hope now you start to kind of understand guilt better. Because we are guilty of who we are. I was always guilty of sharing my interests. I was always guilty of sharing my ideas. I was always guilty of making these videos on YouTube. Because I always felt that that's not who I am. Also, another social, more family conditioning. Because I have an older sister, she has always been the rebel, she always done some crazy stuff. And I always had the pressure to be this perfect kid. The smart kid who goes to university, gets a nice job, always is nice, never tells a bad word, never raises his tone. And this built a lot of pressure inside of myself to be perfect. And that's how I developed this perfectionism inside of myself. So every time I'm not perfect, every time I'm not happy, every time I'm not having good grades, I felt guilty. But that's who I am. I cannot be happy all the time. Sometimes I'm angry, sometimes I'm sad, sometimes I'm depressed, and that's who I am. And there is nothing to be guilty about, but this is conscious. Subconsciously, I developed this perfectionism inside of myself, maybe because of my family, maybe because of myself as well. So that every time I feel bad, or I feel angry, or I have bad grades, or I get into a fight with my parents, I feel like shit. So what do? Every time I feel angry, I hide it. Every time I feel sad, I say it's okay. Every time I have good grades, and that's what I did, I hide them from my parents. Just so I don't feel abandoned. Just so I feel like I'm keeping up with this perfect image of myself. And this is, by the way, what happened when I really got into self-improvement content on YouTube. Because that's when I started to... I kind of saw an escape from everything that I am. I saw an escape from all of this guilt that I have inside of myself. By what? By trying always to make every single minute of my day productive. By always trying to improve myself. And I even said it on my channel. I have probably quotes exactly like this. I'm always looking for ways to improve myself. I'm always looking for ways to improve myself. I'm always looking for ways to improve myself. Always, always, always. But what does this message actually translate to internally? That I am not good enough the way I am. And I always need to be better. I can never relax of who I am in this moment. The muscle that I build, the money that I have. Because I always need to get better. This is what I'm speaking about, guys. Guilt of being who you are in this present moment. Because yes, you can develop yourself, but it's not what you do, it's the place where it's coming from. If you want to develop yourself from the place of abundance, from the place of dreams, from the place of happiness and motivation, this is another story. But when you want to develop yourself from the place of guilt, from the place of not being good enough, which is 90% of self-improvement community, then this is something very bad. You're always going to fall on your head. You're always going to self-sabotage yourself. Trust me when I say, because that's how I've been improving myself. Because you remember, I always need to improve myself. Every single second of the day. Every time I watch TV, I feel guilty of not reading a book. Every time I speak with my friends about something funny, I feel guilty, literally guilty of not speaking about self-improvement and not developing my brain. This is absolutely crazy, and I see many more guys just fall into this trap. And that's why kind of I pivoted my content into more internal stuff, because this is what runs us. Yeah, you may do self-improvement, but have you asked yourself for what reason? Because I can guarantee you that most of the people doing self-improvement, the men, they did it because they were rejected by girls. They want to improve their value. They wanted to be more liked by girls. Why? When you ask the question why this happened? Why has this happened? Why do you do this? In order to be loved. Why do you want to be loved? In order to be happy. So we do self-improvement in order to be happy. But can we be happy in this present moment? Or we need always to do something to feel happy? This is my question. Think about this question because it's very deep. Because when you fall into the trap of self-improvement and improving yourself and always trying to chase some goals, it's absolutely amazing, don't get me wrong, but this is a whole different topic. When you achieve this goal, what happens? You're happy for 1 day, maximum 2 days. And then what? The next goal, and the next goal, the next goal. Give conditions to yourself to be happy when you achieve something. When I earn 2K a month, then I'm going to be happy. You earn 2K a month, then what happens? When I earn 5K a month, then I'm going to be happy. You earn 5K. When I earn 10K a month, then I'm going to be happy. Yes, it's absolutely unbelievably nice to earn money and to hire your income. Yes, it is. But can you be happy right now, earning $500 a month? Yeah, it's not the best situation, but can you be happy with yourself, or you give yourself these conditions? Maybe, as always, this video seems all over the place, but things are connected. It's the guilt of being yourself. Because when you feel guilty, you feel shit, guys. You probably have these situations, like I told you with my mom, where you genuinely feel guilty. For example, you get in an argument with your friend and you say, "You are a pussy, bro," or "You're a piece of shit, bro." And then, in the moment, yes, you felt it, you were angry. But after some time passes, you start to feel bad about this. You start to feel guilty. And the right thing to do is go there and apologize and say, "Bro, I didn't think these words. I said them out of anger," for example. Otherwise, this guilt is going to eat you from inside. And the last kind of point that I have about guilt is that whenever you feel guilty about yourself, whatever you feel guilty about yourself, whatever you don't like in yourself, you blame it and you project it on other people. This was absolutely mind-blowing for me, guys, when I realized this. Because I noticed that all of the things that I judge and blame the other people for, I have them in myself. Because, interestingly enough, if you don't have a certain quality in yourself, you wouldn't notice it in other people. And or at least you would notice it, but you wouldn't mind so much. But because you're guilty of something, you start to judge other people for doing the same things. For example, you feel guilty of you being yourself, you being loud, let's say, you being loud in a social space. And when you see somebody being loud, you start to judge them. Oh, they're so loud. But internally, that's what you actually want to be. But because you feel guilty, and you cannot be this because you feel guilty, because you don't want to be this, you don't want to be judged. You are afraid of being yourself. When you see somebody being exactly the way you want to be internally, you start to shame them, you start to mock them, you start to blame them. But this person that you are blaming, it's a mirror. It's a mirror reflection of who you are. Because if you live your life having this guilty feeling, you see the world as a place of sin, as a place of mistakes, as a place of crime. You project yourself into the world, guys. That's why it's so important first to take care of your inner space and then of the outer things. Because back in the day, and maybe still even now to this day, I was training very hard. But it came from the place of scarcity. It came from the place that I'm not good enough and I need to develop my body, otherwise I will not be loved and accepted. It's all being guilty of who you are. Because if you accept who you are in this present moment, then you can start to develop yourself without so much friction, without so much struggle. And you don't need to hustle so hard, in a sense that you don't need to go against the on the uphill. You can just work and kind of enjoy it. You don't have to feel pain all the time in order for you to do some progress. That's how things go, guys. This is how guilt colors our whole life. Because we feel guilty of who we are. Because we listen to the things that people told us. And we take it as the truth. Being guilty is not accepting your present situation. And yes, your present situation might not be the best, but the best way to handle it is to accept it first and then start to move from this point of view. Because many people live in denial, they don't accept their current situation. For example, they are fat and then they say, no, I'm okay, it's okay to be fat or something like this. And they live from denial, but when you accept your current situation, you can start moving forward. So this is how this internal, philosophy relates to self-improvement. Because for a long time, I felt like you cannot have one and the other together. Like, for example, you accept yourself, therefore you should do nothing for the rest of your life and you should love yourself for who you are without taking any action. But it's not true. It's not true. You just accept who you are, you understand your situation, and then you take action from this place. It's simple as this, guys, but me, at least, you may relate, you may not relate, but I realized I've lived my whole life being guilty of something that I haven't done. And this guilt translates into others. This guilt destroys your relationships with others. Because you blame them, you feel like a victim. Because inside you feel guilty and you start to project into other people your guilt. Because I notice the people and the qualities I judge in other people, guys, I have them one by one. I have the same qualities that I judge other people about. The same. Not even exaggerating. The same. It is completely crazy. So this guilt, how do we let go? How do we fix this situation? We let go of the guilt. What it means to let go, I'm going to speak about this more in detail in the future. But let go is accepting this guilt in yourself, accepting these inner feelings that you have for what they are, and then letting them go freely, not resisting them, not hating them, not labeling them or judging them. Just accept them as what they are, and they're going to go out of your body, and you're not going to have these thoughts anymore. It's easier said than done, of course. I agree with you 100%. But being guilty is a shitty way to live. Because usually the most innocent people are the guiltiest, and the guiltiest people feel the most innocent. You probably know a guy who is very quiet, doesn't do anything bad, but at the same time feels guilty. Feels guilty to ask, for example, for a straw in the Starbucks, let's say. He orders a coffee and he or she feels guilty of asking for a straw. Not for money, not for kiss, but for a straw. This is how crazy things are. That's why I told you it's not relevant to the reality. Because when we're little kids, when we get programmed, when our parents teach us some basic things, for example, when you cross the street, to look on the left, look on the right, and then cross the street just out of safety, then that is a good guilt, kind of, because it helps you in some way. But you are being guilty, for example, now I remember something. When I was in high school, my head teacher, she was pretty bitchy, and she didn't like football players. And I was a football player, and many times I was absent from school just because I had some football tournament. And she made me and the other guys, we represented the school and we were quite good. She shamed us and made us guilty for representing the school. She made us guilty, essentially, for being men and being athletes. And when somebody shames you, this the first step. But when you accept it in your mind, in your body, and in your soul, then that's how guilt is created. So every time I went playing for the school, representing the school, I felt guilty about it. Because I was missing the fucking biology lessons. That's what happens in school, for example, as a boy, if you're loud or if you fight. This is how the 21st century conditioned men to be weak and to be without a voice or without ambitions and just be weak individuals, like a slime. Because every time you're guilty, you express your opinions, you do what you believe is right, the teacher mocks you, punishes you. And this is what guilt really is. You want to be punished. Inside of yourself, you want to be punished. Just the same way like a criminal would be punished by the court to go in prison. You feel like you always need to be punished. For what? For saying what you think, or for being a little bit louder in school, or for liking a girl. These things are irrelevant to reality, and you realize it completely. It's just that that's the internal feeling that we have, and we need to let go of it as soon as possible, because it runs us. You may not realize it, but if you go back in time and you see how you interact with other people, how you behave in certain situations, you realize that most of the time it's from guilt or from some other bad emotions. Because emotions are, or feelings, they're not bad, they're all feelings. And when we realize that they're only feelings, then we're free to let go of them. This is what I have to say about this topic, guys. I don't want to sound like a broken radio, repeat the same thing over and over and over again. But the feeling, to summarize, the feeling of guilt is the feeling that you need to be punished. The feeling that you're always doing something wrong and others are always judging you. You cannot express your desires, your needs, your thoughts, your opinions, because you feel guilty. The moment you realize you're completely innocent and you're doing nothing wrong, that's the moment when you can finally stop being guilty about being yourself. Being yourself, guys, is the way to live life. Saying the truth, being true to yourself, doing what you think is right. This is the philosophy. Because this is why we're here on this planet, to be free. Free of any judgment from others, free of any criticism, because we were born free and we need to die free. And freedom is not only if your country is at war or at peace. Being free is living your life as a free creature, as a free human being. And freedom is not only on the outside, freedom is also on the inside. Feeling life freely. That's what I have to say to you guys. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you watched this video all to the end. I hope this video was of any value to you, and I'm going to explain these processes further in my next videos. I'm very, very excited for this. This is something very deep, and I believe this is something life-changing. I'll see you in the next time, guys, and don't forget to stay tigers.